Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to this Monday edition, November the 2nd of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. It's Monday. That means JC and also Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com will get his thoughts from the press box of what he saw Saturday night in the swamp. Before that, we're going to recap the Gator game and also other things that happened in college football with JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Hey, Shane, a beautiful day right now, clear skies and good temperatures. We're ready for a big week. It's Georgia week. This is a great time of year, my favorite time of year, really it is. And, my man, we had some really the games this weekend. I think what I took from that was how non-competitive they seem to be and how there clearly is in the Big Ten one team that's so far ahead of the rest. Same thing in the ACC. Even though Clemson had to struggle, I think we all know better. Clemson is the class of that conference. And, you've got two or three teams in this league that are far superior than anybody else. And maybe I would throw Texas A&M in there as well. So it's truly kind of a have and have not a scenario, in my opinion. You've got the Pac-12 starting up Saturday. But the Big Ten to me is it's Ohio State and everybody else. Same with the ACC with Clemson, even though BC really gave them a nice game. But that quarterback for Clemson played very well, I thought, for somebody who just steps in. And as we go forward, that Florida-Georgia game is looking better and better for Florida. I'm sure we'll talk about that all week. The Missouri game, QB, look, I know there was going to be some sloppiness. You were right about that. But at the same time, I had no doubt they were going to get 40 or more points in that game. And I just thought the matchup was just really good for Florida. Their offense, in spite of waiting for all these protocols to pass through and for all the lack of work they had, put up 514 yards and averaged over 7 yards per snap. So I think it's really showing control of the progressions with Trask and the fact that, 4 touchdowns and for the fourth straight game shows he's in complete control of this offense.
Yeah, we sputtered around early and then got it going. I was surprised. Missouri, I guess it goes to show you just mentioned it. There's a handful of teams. You got, as you mentioned, I'm trying to pull up Facebook here. It won't come up.
Okay.
So, Alabama's the cream of the crop in the SEC. Then you got Clemson and Ohio State. Those three teams are clearly better than everybody else. Then there's a small group, and I would throw Florida and Georgia, Texas A&M. I don't know if I'd throw anybody else. Maybe you could throw Notre Dame in there, but I think you're going to see how embarrassing they get this week. But the thing is, watching Missouri play and beat LSU in a shootout, and then how they stifled Kentucky, it goes to show you that those teams are so far away.
Not even close.
Away. I mean, because I was convinced after watching Kentucky, because I had bought into this. Kentucky has a good defense. Kentucky has a great offensive line. Kentucky stinks. Missouri stinks too. I mean,
they do.
They were not very good at all. They did not look athletic. Give our kids credit. I thought we played hard. I think our coaching staff did a tremendous job. Obviously, Kyle, it took him a while to get going, but we threw in Caldwell once we got into the flow of the game.
Yeah.
But now, none of this crap matters until Saturday in Jacksonville. This might be the most important game that Dan's had since he's been here because, A, we're really good on offense. We still don't know about our defense. Did we play better against Missouri? Yes. But I thought Missouri was horrible. However, though, JC, when you have a team, and I want to say the turning point of the entire game against Missouri was this. I believe they were ahead 7-6.
Right.
They had the ball, first play of the series after we punted to them. They ran a play action, deep post.
Perfect
throw. Guy catches it. they may go up 14-6. He drops it. Then the next couple of plays, they get to a 4th and 1. We jump off sides, but the refs don't call it. They back up, they punt it, and then the floodgates
It fell
open.
apart. Well, Florida scored 2 touchdowns in 33 seconds, before the halftime. And then they come out with 3 touchdowns in 4 series in the third quarter. But the Missouri mistake, that center, and I thought I saw the Missouri head coach scream, "Why, snap the ball." When they're in the neutral zone, snap it. You're going to get the offsides. But at the same time, if you're really confident with your offense, I think you don't even need to draw them offsides. Get the 1 yard and keep the ball. But Missouri, they're not ready for teams like Florida and Alabama and people like that. But they can play with the Kentuckys and they can play with the Mississippi States of the world. There's no question about it. But my goodness, when you look at how Florida, once they get that offense moving, the defense really seems to feed off it. Now, granted, Missouri again was really bad, but anything that Florida could have done defensively that was positive is a good thing for the Gators, especially going into Georgia, who seems to be struggling a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm sure, again, we'll talk about this Georgia game as the week goes on. But that Florida-Missouri game, I really just never, at one point last week, was worried about the lack of time that Florida had to prepare, because Missouri they're just not there yet, and they're a ways off. And the SEC, I think Florida's offense is the second best offense in the conference. And that's going to be good enough, I think, to handle the Georgia Bulldogs, I think. Georgia's going to have some injury issues to deal with. But Georgia's still Georgia. They can put kids in there that are, this close to being as good as the starter in front of them. So that's going to be a really, really great game to watch. And you're right about Mullen, because he hasn't beaten them yet since he's gotten here. It's the only thing he's got to do is to get over that hump and win the SEC East and get Florida in the championship game with a puncher's chance to win it. When McElwain brought the Gators to the SEC championship game, there was no chance to win the game because he didn't have a quarterback. So they have that now, and they have to qualify for it, and they have to beat Georgia.
We got a couple of Facebook Live comments here brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Francis says defense stepped up. They came to play, and play they did. They played well, but Missouri was – I was shocked at what I saw, how bad they were offensively. Danny also says Missouri head coach says they had 3 or 4 new offensive linemen out for the game. Probably true. So let's talk about, before we talk about Georgia, JC, let's talk about, the national media. If you follow Twitter or what have you, they're blaming Dan Mullen for the brawl before halftime, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they want to find a villain somewhere in Gainesville, don't they? He comes out with the Halloween costume after the game. I don't know if that helped anybody.
But here's the thing. I get it. If you listen to Dan, he made a comment about why he does that, and I believe him wholeheartedly, because those coaches, he wants it's all a family deal. So he's been doing it ever since he was at Mississippi State. Whenever it was Halloween, he made sure his coaches were able to go trick or treat with his kids, regardless, unless they were playing on a Saturday night.
Listen, I know the story behind it, because when he was at State, I would go up there and watch a lot of those games, and I knew that. But I'm just saying, with the sensitive situation that we had at halftime of this game, it's kind of like you just want to duck your head and move on down the road and put it behind you. But I don't think he did anything wrong. See, now, he didn't see what happened to Trask because he was watching the ball in the end zone, obviously. Okay, I get it. But when the offensive linemen are defending their quarterback so vigorously in a situation like this, I don't blame him for reacting. Now, he didn't go and throw haymakers at Eli Drinkwitz. He didn't do any of that. He was just very vocal. I don't think there's a problem with being vocal on the field in a football game, for God's sakes. I mean, this is what coaches do. This is why it's so hard with these masks. This is how they act, and this is how they perform on the field. If he's screaming and hollering, that's fine. He's not throwing haymakers. He's trying to break up a fight. I don't think there was anything wrong with any of that.
No, and here's my thoughts on the entire deal. Okay, was it a late hit? Possibly. I don't think it was cheap, because the guy could have really
hurt Trask.
Could have drove him to the ground. Okay,
he could have hurt him. Yes.
But the issue with the whole thing is, JC, because I've been in this situation before.
Right.
I don't know, and I don't know if the offensive lineman went after anybody as soon as it happened. If you think about it, Trask gets hit, and then people are starting to head towards the locker room, and all the melee starts because of our defensive guys. Zach Carter and those guys. I didn't see a whole lot of offensive linemen in the mix. I could be wrong, but usually when that happens, the first person that starts swinging or pushing or whatever are immediately the offensive linemen, because the defensive linemen weren't even on the field.
Well, I saw some Missouri.
But the refs, it all starts with the refs. The refs should have called a penalty. Like I said, I don't think it was that cheap. I watched it many times. I don't think it was that cheap of a shot. Was it late? Yes, but the guy, in my opinion, kind of held up after he realized what he had done, because it's tough playing defense these days when you're going 100 miles an hour and you can't get near the quarterback. But I have no problem with what Dan Mullen did, not one bit.
No, I don't either. And look, he's got a locker room to keep, and that locker room is behind him right now, and that's the biggest thing. I think he'll pay the stupid little fine, whatever it is that Sankey and those guys up in Birmingham are going to give him. Big deal. I mean, they gave Lane Kiffin $25,000 fine for saying something that was true. Okay. So certainly Dan's going to have to write a check. I don't think anybody cares, including him, about that. What he cares about is having that locker room and getting it ready for next week, because as you said, this is the biggest game he's probably had in the 3 years he's been around. And I certainly believe that situation at halftime could have been worse. I thought they did a good job of diffusing it, as bad as it looked on TV, with the Missouri linemen slinging haymakers at helmets and the Florida guys doing their thing. I do believe that it could have been worse, and it was diffused quicker than it could have been. It could have been worse, I think. So I don't think, though, that should take away from what Florida was able to do on the field of that game. They scored their 40 points. They have the second best offense in the league. They I think, are ready to play against Georgia. They look pretty good health-wise. Defensively, they had their best game of the season, clearly. So this is a good time right now, and I think Florida is in good shape to play a great game on Saturday. And certainly I think this could determine or define how the rest of the season goes.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. November is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with JC. We have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com here shortly. I don't know if you got to see the video, JC, of Coach Mullen dancing in the locker room with the players in the Darth Vader gear. That was classic.
Well, he's a character, man. He's got a lot of personality, and he's a leader. He's the kind of guy that wants to have 60,000 fans in the stadium. He's the kind of guy, or 80,000 fans in the stadium. And I think he's exactly what this program needed when they hired him, because they needed a lot of things to happen on the energy side. And it really has come to fruition, I think, with the 2 10-win seasons he's posted. So the only thing left to do is beat Georgia. So I love the way Coach Mullen runs this program, and I certainly love the way that he's got his team ready to play after they had 2 weeks off against a team that thought they were going to come in here and win. They were clearly better. And that is why, QB, I took the Gators laying the 13 points in the Peachland Dentistry Picks Con.
That's right. We're going to get to the picks in just a second, but you brought up the Georgia game. It's the most important game of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia has a lot of guys out. Their best player was in a motorcycle accident. He will not be playing, Terry LeCount. Gators should get back the guys they were missing.
Yep.
My only concern in this game, well, there's two concerns. Okay, can we throw and catch? Yes. But our passing game is different than what you saw Alabama do. Alabama has a lot of different concepts. Mac Jones takes a step, ball is out. Basically, Alabama runs a almost identical passing attack than what Spurrier had.
That's exactly
our passing attack is more on matchups, mismatches, and one-on-one battles. So if we don't win our one-on-one battles, we're in trouble. But my biggest concern for the entire game is if Georgia decides to line up and say, we're going to run it right down your throat.
Yeah.
So, again, for Florida to win this game, the defensive line is going to have to play at a very high level, in my opinion.
I would be shocked if Georgia asked Stetson Bennett to win the game for them. They are going to run the football, whether they succeed at it or not early. They're going to stick with that plan. And I agree with you. I think that's what Florida has to do is stop the run. They I guess did it against Missouri, but before then it had been a concern. Florida is going to have to stop the run and then make Stetson Bennett beat them. So I mean, it's pretty obvious to everybody watching what the plan should be and how they should attack Georgia. But I think, you're right about the Georgia defense, in spite of these guys missing, will still have guys they put in who are really good players. And they're going to be the toughest defense Florida sees. There's no doubt.
Yeah, there's no question about that. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Yeah. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. All right, JC, so where do we stand on our picks?
Okay, so we had a pretty good weekend. You went 6-5. You went 6-5, and I went 8-3. We had 11 games. The one game that you won that I lost was Texas. They came back and beat Oklahoma State. That was clearly the best or most exciting game, I guess you could say, over the weekend. But I had BC covering against Clemson. I think that pick was made, though, before Lawrence's announcement was made, so I can kind of give you a break on that one. But it went from 30.5 to 24.5, but I still took BC either way. We both had Cincinnati. Okay, you lost we both lost the LSU and Georgia games on the spread, LSU outright. You took Texas A&M. Arkansas got a late score to cover that. I had Arkansas getting the points. The Missouri-Florida game, you had Missouri with the points, and I had Florida. So I went 8-3. You went 6-5, still very good. And on the year, Peachland Dental is getting their money's worth because right now you are 33-23. That is really good. And I'm 32-24. We are we are neck and neck through the midpoint of the season, QB. How exciting it must be for our friends down at Peachland Dental to sponsor such excellence on picking with the spread. Who else in America on any show, and I'll tell you, even the ones on ESPN, any of them can say this is their record, 33-23. I'll tell you how many. None of them. So they get real value at Peachland Dental because on this program, we got guys who know how to pick with the spread, and you're looking at them right now.
All right. We got a Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner.
You figured out Facebook. That's good.
Jeff says, given how well the Gators perform, might teams reconsider practice, training, et cetera, routines during bye weeks? Absolutely not. We were fortunate. If you remember, we were losing 7-6, regardless of how they got their 7. It was an ugly first quarter and a half.
It was,
and then the switch came on. So
yes,
no, they actually even practiced yesterday, which they never practiced on Sunday because they are not allowed to practice this Tuesday. An NCAA rule that was passed so kids could go vote. All these kids have already voted. It's ridiculous.
Right, but you do have maybe one or two of those kids that says I'm doing it on election day, and you just never know when they'll be done. So I mean, okay, so they're gonna look. It's like this: if one team can't vote and another team, as long as it's the same for everybody, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, another Facebook Live comment here, brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Chris says number 55 and 56 in the middle of the D line with 17 and 1 on the ends will slow the run down. I agree having Kyrie Campbell back helped. But
yes.
Again, we can't compare Missouri's running game to the Georgia Bulldogs. Like I said, that concerns me a lot. So
well, and Tony was the best, the most exciting player on the field, and I think with some of these injuries that Georgia's got on defense, if they can get him the ball, good things can happen for Florida.
Oh, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
JC, did you happen to see? Because I've watched tons of games. The greatest play. Now they didn't. Right. It was confirmed that it was a forward pass, which I'm not sure if it was or not. But the ending to the Indiana Rutgers
game. Yeah.
That was the greatest play I've ever seen ever. It was unbelievable. It's like 7 or 8 laterals. And Rutgers scored, and then they said one of them was a little bit forward. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but the fact that linemen were included on that play touching the ball was the most incredible thing because they didn't let it drop. And so, that one, and then the game that Tulane pulled out with 0 time left a year ago against somebody. But no, that was the most crazy play. The only thing that's close to that is when Cal did it to Stanford in that in that lateral game, I guess, with the marching band on the field back in the 80s. But that was that was incredible. Indiana. Hey, look, Indiana might be the second best team in the Big Ten right now. Offensively, certainly they are good. And you know, you hear about Michigan and you hear about Penn State. I got a feeling those teams are headed for 4 or 5 losses this year. Maybe not, but they may get better. But Penn State's 0-2 right now, and Michigan State, who under Mel Tucker was in shambles after that Rutgers game, stuck it to Michigan in Ann Arbor in an empty stadium. But I'll tell you, it's crazy to me to see how, and I'm jumping to another subject here, but you could watch a game like at Clemson, or you could watch a game in the SEC like at Auburn, and then you look at a game up in the Big Ten, and you wouldn't think you're playing on the same planet. It's not just because of what's going on the field; it's what's out there in the stands. There's nobody in these 100,000 seat stadiums in the Big Ten, zero. And at least in this conference, A&M's got 30,000 or however many. Clemson had a load of people at that game. I mean, Clemson had a lot of people at that game with Boston College. So it drives me crazy how some of these places have to perform. But I'm pretty sure Indiana could be close to maybe the second or third best team in that league. But Ohio State is so far ahead of everybody. It's really not going to be that dramatic this year.
No, as you said, I haven't really looked at the schedule of what we got this weekend. I do know it's a big weekend because you got Florida, Georgia, a game that means so much, and then you got Clemson going to Notre Dame without their quarterback, without some other players. But I don't think it's going to matter, JC. I've watched Notre Dame play all year long. I have not been impressed one time. I don't think I know they got good players, but I don't look at them and say, man, they got speed, they got athletes. I don't see it. I think Clemson's true freshman quarterback played great. Now, their defense didn't play great against BC. They were missing a bunch of guys. I don't know if they get them back this week or not, but I think Clemson's going to roll the Irish.
That backup quarterback is fine. He's their future. He's going to get more confident. And defensively, how is Notre Dame going to score on that team? They're going to try to run the ball, They have a huge offensive line, and they're going to just play smash mouth football. That's what Notre Dame's going to try to do, maybe set up the play action. But Clemson's too athletic, I think, for that to be too effective against them. As far as Notre Dame goes, I don't see how they stop Clemson. I mean, maybe they have a good defense. I don't know. I mean, when you beat Georgia Tech and you barely beat Louisville, you don't really show us much. And I don't think it's because they didn't want to. It's because they couldn't. And so this game is going to get I think it's going to be a disappointment to a lot of folks who are still sitting around thinking Notre Dame has a chance. And I don't know how they get rated so highly. I have no idea how.
JC, did you watch any of the National Football League yesterday?
It was tremendous. I did watch that. That Pittsburgh Steelers team is so impressive to me, and they've got Baltimore's number. I saw Kansas City do Kansas City things, but that Buffalo game with New England was interesting because the Patriots, who have beaten the Bills mercilessly for 20-some-odd years, had a chance to win the game or at least tie it and can't put the ball on the ground. So good things happen when it's your year, and right now it seems like Buffalo, in spite of how they may be playing here recently, has won 6 games. And right now, the team I think that they need to worry about more than anybody is Miami with that defense they have. Now, I don't know how the Dolphins are going to score any points right now if they stay with Tua, but defensively, man, the Dolphins, they really handled the 49ers, and yesterday they won the game against the Rams. That defense won the game.
What's crazy is at half, the game was 28-7 or 28-10?
To 10, yeah.
The Dolphins had 28 points and had 56 yards of offense. They don't score at all in the second half. They end up with 145 yards offense. Nothing against Tua. They need to go back to Ryan Fitzpatrick. They're 4-3 right now.
Right. If they want to win the division, I gotta think they know that they have to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think they gave Tua the chance because they had the week off prior to this game, and they were catching the Rams on a Monday night, traveling across the country. I get it. It made sense. But that defense is really salty. And if you stick Fitzpatrick in the game and you score 20 or some odd points, you've got a great chance to win it, and especially win that division. I think they can play with Buffalo if they put the right quarterback in.
So, the NFL, you never know what's going to happen. The Bengals beat the Titans.
But beat them badly. Beat them bad, Look at your guy Burrow, who is starting to crank it up here in the last 2 weeks. I think the future is very bright for Cincinnati. I'm telling you, this kid is the real deal. We all know it, right, QB? I mean, the best quarterback you ever saw play in college. And certainly this guy is starting to feel his way, I think, a little bit with Cincinnati. I mean, they hammered Tennessee. That was the shocker of the day, if you ask me.
Well, I thought the Vikings sitting at 1-5 going into Green Bay and winning, beating a 5-1 Packers team. Dalvin Cook ran all over them.
All over them. And, Minnesota's the kind of team that's lost some games that could have won. I mean, the Seattle game sticks out specifically. How they lost that game is unbelievable. The Seahawks right now seem to be the class of the NFC West. But I don't know how much home field is going to matter in the NFL. So seeding really isn't as important, I think, as is just getting in to the playoffs. You're going to have 6 teams in each, or no, you're going to have 7 teams this year. You're going to have 7 teams in each conference playing. So to get into the playoffs is the only objective. I don't think it's going to matter where you play these games because the crowds won't be available. Tonight you got Tampa Bay, who's kind of caught fire here these last 2 weeks. A 12.5-point favorite against the Giants. What would you do with that one, QB?
Well,
I got you. I mean, you didn't expect me to ask you that, did you? Yeah, 12.5 points in New York, and it could be very windy up there, and the weather could be bad. So, or at least windy. I don't know if that slows down Brady. He's played New England his whole career.
I would say pass. So, this is a game Tampa could struggle for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, they could. It's a Monday night football, but the Giants are bad, QB. They're really bad offensively. I don't think they've got much to offer against that Tampa Bay defense. So,
all right, JC.
I think we'll see Tampa win.
Well, go start studying for your picks on Friday, my man.
Okay, well, we'll see you on Wednesday, I would assume.
Yeah, but you got to start studying today.
I will study. I will. Big week, man. Election week. Go vote, everybody.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline at Center State Bank. We put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. And understand that small businesses need a community business partner they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take our first time out of the program. When we come back, we'll be joined by FloridaGators.com senior writer Scott Carter.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Skechers, Sushi Hana, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by a guy that will probably have his own seating at the bar on the rooftop of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. That's Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Hey, Shane. Doing well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. To see that place open and go get over there, and I'm sure spend some quality time.
Well, I know you like food, and I was fortunate enough to go to the taste testing of some of the items on the menu a couple weeks ago. Phenomenal. I couldn't believe how good the food was.
All right. That is good to hear. I'll be in line there when it opens.
Absolutely. Scott, so, gosh, I didn't even realize it was homecoming, but Gators win homecoming against the Missouri Tigers. Just a weird deal with 16 days off. We kind of sputtered around the first quarter or so, and then, got going there later in the first half and put them away. Your thoughts, just your initial thoughts on the game?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of mystery going into that game, Shane, because of the layoff. 3 weeks between games, 2 of those weeks spent not being able to do anything, and you wondered how the Gators would respond. And I think early on we saw, they're missing some players, some key players in the secondary. Obviously, they're starting kickers out. And what do they do? The first 2 scores they have, it's field goals. So right away, you kind of got, okay, Chris Howard, he's that spot of it's going to be okay, it looks like. But what about the offense? And because we've seen them go down into the red zone and punch it in consistently, and then they weren't doing that early. But eventually, they did get things going, and obviously the spark, whatever you want to call it, the scuffle at the end of the first half changed the whole complexion of the game. And it was really not much of a game in the second half. I mean, the Gators had control, and I think they scored 28 consecutive points after the Missouri interception that made it 7-6. Next thing you know, it's 34-7, I think. So good performance overall. One that they obviously needed, and one that looks good on paper heading into the Georgia game. But obviously, we'll see what shakes out from the scuffle.
Yeah, well, correct me if I'm wrong. Could something else happen from the league office about what happened in the scuffle, or was it? I think Coach Mullen mentioned in his presser after the game that usually it's just like a targeting foul. If you have to sit out, you sit out a half. So I guess Zach Carter was the only starter that was kicked out of the game. So does that mean he sits out that second half, he's ready to go against Georgia, or could there more stuff come down the pipeline?
I kind of thought maybe more stuff would. I mean, it's at discretion of the SEC office whenever you have a situation that escalated kind of like that one did. Per the letter of the law, like in terms of Zach Carter, you're right on, he missed the second half, but a full game ejection, I have to look that up myself. I think what Mullen said is correct, but I thought maybe we'd hear something yesterday, to be honest with you, Shane, but we didn't. So now I'm curious, what's going to come down today. I mean, everybody's got their opinion on it. You saw both schools release statements yesterday, trying to kind of be nice, and it was a clean game in the second half. I mean, as I was sitting there in the press box Saturday night, I was wondering, are we going to see any more of this stuff in the second half? And, we didn't, which was fortunate. But, of course, it was a situation that just kind of got out of hand there. And you hope that nothing major happens for the Gators case going into the Georgia game. But we'll all find out today at some point, I would expect.
Do you think, and obviously we'll probably hear something today if anything's going to happen, but do you think since Coach Mullen and Coach Drinkwitz kind of got together, and I know Mullen was still fired up, but the way that both of their squads came out in the second half and played clean football and there was no dirtiness, do you think the league office takes that into consideration?
Yeah, that's really the $1 million question. Like, because obviously both schools, both teams, both coaches knew that they kind of obviously regretted what happened. So they're trying to move past it real fast. But does Greg Sankey, does he say, hey, that was still too much and we cannot let that happen? We have to show other teams that that's unacceptable. So it really comes down to his discretion. That's why he's the league commissioner. I'm sure there's a lot of conversation probably with both schools. It's really interesting because you're saying this happened, and now you're going into really one of your league's marquee games of the season, the Florida Georgia game. That's a tough spot to be in for him. But like I said, I don't know, Shane. I'm really that's going to be the talking point after this is all over, obviously.
Yeah. Before we get into Georgia, I know Coach Mullen on Twitter and through the national media were catching a lot of crap because that's just his fiery mentality, how he came back out to get the crowd riled up. And then also him wearing Darth Vader, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
And he talked about, he tries to have fun with these players, especially also his coaching staff, because we know, but a lot of people don't realize the hours these coaches put into and how much family time and different family activities they miss. What are your thoughts about him wearing the Darth Vader outfit? And I loved it.
Yeah, I'm there with you, man. I mean, we live in a society where everything is so over scrutinized now. And it's almost come to the point, this is just my opinion, but it's like the fun is being taken out of some of this because, that's the reason why I love sports. And, we talk about college football coaches, how so many of them are like robots and so many of them, they don't even seem human sometimes. And yeah, you got a guy like Dan Mullen who is human. And yeah, is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. I mean, he's made some mistakes these past couple of weeks, but I don't think wearing the Darth Vader costume was a mistake at all. I mean, that was just having some fun with this team. He's a guy to me that, if you followed him closely throughout his career and at Florida, he's an emotional guy. But also one thing I like about him is he's able to turn that emotion off pretty quick after a game, even after a loss. It's not like he's one of these guys who it just seems to eat him up for a few days. I think he moves on and he's got a pretty good perspective on what's important and what's not. But again, Shane, everybody's going to have their opinion. It's easy fodder for bloggers and talk radio and shows like we're doing now. It's easy to attack him and to give him a hot take, but I like the guy. I like his approach. I think he's 24-6 as the Florida head coach. I know Gator fans like him. That's the same record as the head ball coach had in his first 30 games. Shane, again, could he handled it better the other day? Maybe, but he's emotional and he got into it, and you saw the players feed off that, and here we are talking about it a couple of days later, but. No question that he likes to have fun with his players. And the sign that I always look to, Shane, is what do the players think of him? I can tell you the players like him.
Yep, no doubt. We're speaking with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com here on the Titan MRI Hotline. We got a couple Facebook Live questions brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Jeff asked, possible internal punishment for Carter? I would say absolutely not. He was taken up for his teammates. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't see any internal punishment other than if the SEC, that would be the punishment that if he faces, it would be outside. I don't see anything internal now.
And then the other question from Kyle, what's Evan McPherson's status for the Georgia game? I would assume he would be good to go. I don't know when he tested positive, and I honestly don't know what the protocol is once you test positive, how many days you have to be quarantined. You got any info on that?
With him, it is just going to be the question on the calendar. He's going to be right on that edge, I think, of being able to come back full strength around that time. So it all depends on what day he went into the quarantine or whatever. So he's a great case of what we're talking about all year long. Some games you might have a guy, some games you might not. So that's it's a close call, but I don't know exactly, Shane.
Let's talk a little offense. I'll be honest with you, Scott. I was been very critical, not against the kid, but just all the hype. But Kadarius Toney has made a transformation that I don't know if I've ever really seen a player make. And kudos to Billy Gonzalez, his coach, but this guy is running really good routes, and obviously we've always known he had to wiggle, but he's not running backwards. Now he tried to run backwards one time last Saturday night when he reversed field, but man, is he playing well.
He is. Totally agree with you. On this season to me has come out of nowhere in a lot of ways. You always knew he was going to be good for some flash plays during the season, but you didn't expect it to be as consistent as what we've seen. And that play he made the other night, the one he escaped on. There's only one guy on that team on the field that night who could make that, and it's him. And there's been very few guys in Gators history, as you know, who can make a play like that. but he's one of them. Percy Harvin. There's not many, Shane, that come along like him. But of course, he's never been able to do it consistently. Now we're seeing it, and everything you just said, running into routes, just catching the ball down the field. I think you're looking at a guy who, whatever the wake-up call was, he finally got that wake-up call, and it's worked. I think he's he knew that, okay, if he's going to have the kind of success he wants to at Florida, and also to have that opportunity at the next level, there's a lot of question marks about him, and he's quit. His nickname is the Eraser to a lot of people. He's erasing a lot of those doubts right now with maybe what the league has about him, because he's playing, like you said, at a very, very high level. A big difference for this offense.
Yeah, no doubt. Scott, I want to get your perspective because, I'm a huge fan of Kyle Trask. He's one of my son's best friends. But I look at the position and I like to really be, I don't want to say criticize, but I like to look at fundamentals, what he should have done. I mean, because it's easy to second guess. He got away with some throws the other night that he can't be making across the field, rolling right and throwing back over to the middle. Mm-hmm. But my favorite play that Kyle Trask has had since he's been our starting quarterback came on the skinny post. I think it was a 36-yarder to Copeland. If we're going towards the north end zone, he took his steps and he drove that football in there. Great accuracy. Because the only thing that I get nervous about, and I was going to ask you this because you can probably see it from your vantage point up in the press box being up high, is sometimes he's moving around in the pocket and he sometimes throws they say off your back foot or not with your feet underneath you, and I get nervous at times. But he trusts his receivers, which is a good thing. But do you see that at times that's like the only little nitpicky thing you can say about Trask?
Yeah, I mean, I probably don't see it in detail like you do because of your background and, you played the position. But I know what you're saying. I was watching the NFL game yesterday, and that was a topic of conversation with Nick Foles. They were saying he was doing that a lot, and how, so I don't pick that up so much with Trask, but the play you're talking about, that was a great play. I don't know if he's fundamentally perfect. I think that's part of his game. He's still probably developing, but I think his decision making's gotten better. I don't think there's any question. I mean, people, these guys are scrutinized so much. Like you see questions about his arm. To me, his arm looks fine. He's obviously a big guy, 6'5", 240. And he showed in the second half, he came out there fired up. He showed he can run if he has to. Those were a couple of his best runs we've seen. So I think he's going to get analyzed more and more, like you're talking about, as the NFL draft comes up and that kind of stuff. So, but I don't see so much of that stuff as you do, Shane. But at the same time, I'm probably not qualified. But I just I look at the results, and he's putting up the results.
Oh, there's no question. He's playing outstanding. He's thrown more touchdowns in the first 4 games than any quarterback's ever played in the league. We got a Facebook Live comment here, a couple brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Brandon says, no wake-up call for Tony. He was a QB transitioning into a wide receiver. Yes, but he's been transitioning for what's his 3rd or 4th year here?
4th year.
It's time. I mean, he's finally making plays down the field. Normally it was all on jet sweeps and wide receiver screens. He's become a wide receiver, in my opinion. And then Jeff says, in my humble opinion, Trask could be one, if not the top QB pick in the next year's draft, Classic Pro QB. I think the so-called experts have him like the 5th or 6th quarterback that's going to be taken. It doesn't really matter. I try to tell Gator fans, who cares if he's drafted in the 1st round, if he's drafted in the 7th round, or if he's not drafted at all. It doesn't matter. It's what's he doing in the orange and blue that we care about. I think he will be like a 4th or 4th round pick, 3rd or 4th, in my opinion, but we'll see.
Hey,
Scott, let's go ahead.
He's still working out a great career. I mean, we're still talking about Jeff Driscoll's in the NFL. So I see Trask having maybe more success down the road than that. Yeah,
no doubt. Do you think defense played well? Missouri was not as good offensively as I thought. I think I got fooled a little bit watching them against LSU and Kentucky.
Yeah.
But I think that shows you how bad LSU and Kentucky are, possibly. But do you think Kyrie Campbell made that big of an impact?
I think he helped. I mean, one player to change a whole defensive, I guess, tone around. That's difficult. I don't know if Kyrie Campbell's that kind of player, but I think he definitely helped. He did make a couple of nice plays that made a difference in the game. But I think most of it was the young guys who filled in, especially in the secondary. You didn't hear their name called over and over, which means that's a good thing, considering that, Missouri was aware they were back there. So I think Torrance, did his job, the secondary. But mostly it was I think they got some big plays up front. Cox had a couple of big plays, had a fumble recovery. Jeremiah Moon had a sack. I just thought it was clearly the Gators' best overall defensive performance. But most of all, from the biggest difference I saw, Shane, was exactly what Todd Grantham had said during the week. They were more physical. They were more aggressive. I thought it looked a little bit more like defense that we've seen under Grantham the first 2 years.
Yeah, we look fast.
Mm-hmm.
And the couple of the games that we played prior to this one, we didn't look fast on defense, but I thought we did Saturday night. Last couple of things, got a few more minutes here with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. All right, big game, Georgia game. I mean, this is the game of the year. Georgia's going to be out, it looks like, with about four or five starters. Probably their best defensive player, Terry LeCount, is still in a hospital after a motorcycle accident, I believe, so he's not going to be playing. The thing that concerns me about this game is we know what Georgia wants to do, and it's pound the football with their great running backs and that big offensive line. Is this what Florida has to do? We have to stop the run to have any chance of winning this game?
I think it's huge. If you don't stop the run, it just makes the job a lot more difficult. You're really going to put a lot of pressure on Trask in the offense to truly score almost every time they get the ball, because if Georgia's running the ball like they want to, that means the Gators offense is not going to have as many opportunities as normal. So you're putting a lot of pressure on that. And it really, I think, goes back. One of the key guys in that regard, Shane, is the guy we just talked about, Kyrie Campbell. I think that's where Kyrie Campbell could really make a difference this week against Georgia. We saw TJ Slayton make a play or two against Missouri. He's another guy. Those big bodies in the middle, I think they're going to be critical against Georgia, getting a little push up there against that line and maybe slowing things down so the linebackers and the second level can help, because Georgia does like to run it. But that to me, that you're right, that's going to be a key. And if you can stop the run, that makes things a little bit easier and opens up a little room for margin of error for the offense.
Yeah, because, Stetson Bennett's a guy he's not going to be able to beat you himself. But, people are like, well, let's load the box, put, 8 guys in the box. But if you do that, then you got single coverage across the board, and it's hard to play man-to-man these days. And he's a good enough little athlete and an accurate little passer that he can beat you. So I'm anxious to see the chess match, what goes on between Kirby and Dan and Todd Grantham and them, because it all starts with the running game and that big offensive line for Georgia. That's what they want to do. Now, defensively, everybody looks at the Florida offense, how we've thrown the ball very well, which we have, and looks at what Alabama did. Our passing games are a little bit different styles. So I'm anxious to see how those matchups are, because Dan does a tremendous job getting mismatches, but the Alabama offense is more of a Spurrier-type passing game with concepts and things of that nature. So I can't wait to see this game on Saturday. Would you say, Scott, this is the biggest game Dan's had since he's been here?
Oh, yeah, no doubt, just because of the trajectory of the program under him, where, you got kind of a honeymoon against Georgia, I think, the first couple of years as they built the program. But then it was built kind of faster than some people expected. Like I said, he's 24-6 in his first 30 going into this game. I think that's probably most Gator fans would have signed and checked the box to take that record after the first 30 the day he showed up. So now it sets up a big-time matchup, reminiscent of what we're used to some of the big years against Georgia. So, yeah, I'm like you, man. It's going to be different, looking out there and not seeing all the tailgating and stuff. That's going to be it's a shame that here we are. This game, it's got some of its luster back this year, and it's going to be so different just being there, and the atmosphere is not going to be anything like we're used to. But on the field, I think, again, as we've talked, I think we're going to see some action, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a great game.
No doubt about it. It's going to be very strange. One more thing, Scott. You think if the SEC is going to make any kind of decisions on any suspensions, we will hear today? Wouldn't you think that?
I would think that, to be honest, I thought really we might hear yesterday, but we didn't. So I'm thinking it's going to be today. But, I know we're waiting, and like everybody else is. So that is everybody's going to be, that's going to generate a lot of conversation, Shane, whenever it happens. There'll be a lot of Twitter comments.
And what did they decide on number of tickets for Georgia, number of tickets for Florida in this game?
Oh, man, you're going to test me there.
Oh,
I don't know.
It's about 10,000 each, somewhere around there?
I think somewhere like that. I know it's obviously like 20-25% of what it would normally be, which I think is, they're holding 85,000. So if you're doing 20%, it's around 22?
Yeah.
That'd be 10 or 11 each side. But yeah, they're going to be spread out, so it's going to be different, man.
Yeah, it's a shame with what's at stake, and it's going to be it's not going to be the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. That's going to be happening at everybody's house, pretty much.
That's right, in the backyard.
Yep, no doubt. Well, Scott, man, we appreciate you joining us. We'll talk to you next week, hopefully after the Gators beat the Bulldogs.
Hope so, buddy. See you, Shane.
All right, that's Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Join us. Make sure you check him out on FloridaGators.com. Does tremendous work. Got some good stories on there as well. We're going to take our second time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap this Monday edition up.
Former head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your rug cleaning services.
Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Dareen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Don't forget, on Fridays, you get the JC and QB Weekend Picks brought to you by Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. JC and I are doing pretty well there, believe it or not. Tomorrow, going to be a good show tomorrow. Obviously, got old Buddy Martin talking Gator football. And then we're going to be joined by former Gator Ahmad Black, get his thoughts on what's going on, what he's seen during the season so far. He's usually pretty opinionated. So we love having Ahmad Black on. Then Wednesday, we got Chuck Oliver from the Chuck Oliver Show, anxious to get his thoughts on Florida, Georgia, how he sees it playing out. And then Thursday, we got our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. And then on Friday, we're going to have Lindsey Scott and Buck Ballou join the program along with JC. Make sure you follow and like us. Share us on all your social media. Check us out on all the different Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's it. It's a good victory over the Missouri Tigers. Hopefully today we don't hear any news from the SEC. I'm thinking we're not, only because the coaches got it under control. They played it wasn't a dirty second half. I think if it had been a dirty second half, you'd have a different story, but I think they handled it well. It's Georgia week. I can't wait for this game. It's a nerve-wracking game. There's no question about it. Gators have got to find a way to win it this year. Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by Rat Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.